And welcome to part 1 of session 9, where we're going to be exploring the concept of mindfulness in relation to work and careers. And we're going to be doing a series of exercises and reflections on those. Now, work can obviously mean different things to different people, and this work we're doing today has nothing really to do with the workplace itself. It's all to do with communication, with relationships, and with our own self-awareness. We're trying to move our thinking away from simple black and white thinking of things being right or wrong, things being powerful or powerless, things being good or bad, and we're trying to think around these things and be less judgmental, more open-minded, open-hearted, and so on. And during these sessions, we're going to be exploring how you relate to others in your specific work role. For example, maybe you're a parent at home, managing the home environment. Maybe you're a manager at work. Maybe you're a plumber. Maybe you're a care worker. It really doesn't matter. All you need to do is adapt the language in the course as appropriate. So maybe you're talking about co-workers, or you're thinking about colleagues, or maybe it's family members or care recipients or whatever. So just adjust the language of this course to suit your specific needs. So let's begin our course with our usual reminder of what is mindfulness. That mindfulness is paying attention on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And we isolated 3 core concepts associated with this definition. That's paying attention, deliberately paying attention, that we're being in the present moment, we're not wandering off into the past or into the future, and that we're being non-judgmental as we observe and experience what's going on in our lives. So let's move on and explore this in the context of work and careers. So here's a definition of why we should consider mindfulness and the work environment. We often think of mindfulness as being a personal practice. It's something we do in a meditation session or whatever, or we're concentrating on ourselves. In this context, we're obviously moving mindfulness away from just ourselves into the environment and to the people we're interacting with. And the beauty of mindfulness is that it can be equally useful, whatever your work environment happens to be. So the workplace can include anywhere where you're engaging other people for the purposes of what you would class as work. It could be in your home, it could be in a classroom, in an office, in a care home. It really doesn't matter, because mindfulness is performing tasks, contributing knowledge, exercising skills, and working with and for others. Let's move and explore this a little bit further. So we're aiming to have a look at balance. How do we balance our work, our private lives, our home lives, etc.? Now, work itself can occupy often anywhere between a quarter and a third of our entire lives. And we often become quite identified with it, so that the successes and failures, the obligations we have there, kind of influence our entire lives. So the purpose of our first exercise, which we're going to go into in a minute, is to identify the realm of control at work. We're going to recognize what dependencies we have. We're going to think about the kind of relationships we have, and we're going to understand what areas we control, what areas we have some influence, and what areas we have no control whatsoever. So, what I'd like you to do is get a sheet of paper, or it could be your journal if you prefer, And at the top of it, I want you to name a goal. And this is a big or new accomplishment you like to achieve at work. It could be organizing a family outing, if that's your work environment. It could be a specific project. Maybe you're aiming for promotion at work. But whatever your big new goal is, just write it down at the top of the page. And then what I'd like you to do is divide the paper into 3 different columns. The first column, I'd like you to list everything over which you hold direct control in this goal of yours. What are you in charge of? And I'll give you a minute or so to write down those things. Then what I'd like you to do is create a second column. And in this second column, in relation to your goal, list everyone else who holds some control, who has some input, or has some decision-making power. It could be a supervisor, it could be a manager of yours, it could be your family members or whatever. And in the third column, in relation to this goal of yours, list all the factors over which no one holds any control. And they could impact your goal. And examples might be the weather, could be people being ill, maybe accidents, maybe there's some change in the economy or whatever. And I'll be quiet for a minute or so while you list those out. Okay, so if you wish to carry on writing, just pause the video, because we're about to move on to reflect on this exercise and what you've discovered. So let's reflect on the exercise we've just done on balance to understand where we have control, where we have some control, and where we have no control at all. So how does it feel to compare our direct realm of control with all the people and things that are actually outside our control? And how often do we feel responsible for other people and forces, when in fact we have limited or perhaps even no control at all? And how does taking on all that responsibility feel for you? So you may want to journal on this. You may just want to pause the video and ponder your answers. The objective of this exercise is to recognize the limits of our direct control, and also to understand our interconnections, our dependencies, and our vulnerabilities. It also helps us to highlight the importance of good relationships and communications. So just pause the video if you'd like to spend more time on this, because we're about to move into a guided meditation. So this is a meditation on the same theme, really, on about balance. It's aiming to understand our realm of control, understand our attitudes towards work and others who are within our control. And this meditation aims to foster a balance in different aspects of our lives. So assuming you've got your full attention on this practice, sit upright in your chair with your hips 2 to 3 inches above the level of your knees. Have your feet flat on the floor. Rest your hands on your lap and don't interlock your fingers. You can close your eyes if you wish to, otherwise just have a soft downward gaze towards the floor. And without changing it, become aware of your breath as it rolls in and rolls out. And we're going to begin this meditation by working with our breath. We're aiming to get a certain balance in our breathing. So what I'd like you to do is inhale fully, slowly and evenly, and then exhale gently. Allow each breath to fill the lungs fully, but don't overfill them. And the exhalation process cleanses the lungs, but doesn't deplete them. And then I'll give you a minute or two to just practice that breathing, just maintaining that balance. Inhale fully, slowly and evenly, and exhaling gently. And now let's focus on balancing our mind. Respond to distractions with balance and hold the body loosely and calmly. Notice how distractions will pass They come into our minds, they last for a while, and they pass away. Find a balance in your physical response to distracting thoughts and feelings. And in your emotional balance, meet feelings with an open acceptance and awareness of them, a certain curiosity about them, and of course with no judgment at all. Allow yourself to acknowledge feelings with soft shoulders, with resting arms, and with your feet planted firmly on the floor. And now let's work on our thoughts and feeling balance. Hold thoughts and feelings like a delicate glass orb, with care and with balance. Cradle thoughts and feelings with a balanced body, with balanced energy, with your own natural centeredness. And at any time you can readjust to find balance and bring more calm or alertness as needed. So just spend a few minutes with your breath. Inhale fully, slowly and evenly. Exhale gently. Allow distractions to come and go and meet them with a balanced body and mind. If any emotions arise, just notice them without judgment and be curious about them and what they're telling you. And should any thoughts and feelings arise, just cradle them gently. Cradle them gently with your balanced body. And as we draw this meditation practice to a close, just let go of any activity you may be doing or engaged in. Become aware of your feet on the floor. Become aware of the chair that you're sitting in. Wiggle your fingers. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths. If your eyes are closed, now is a good time to open them. And become aware of your environment. You may want to pause the video for a moment to become aware of the environment and so on, as we move on to reflect on this practice. So let's take a moment to reflect on the experience that meditation may have brought up for you. Feel free to write any answers to the questions on the screen in your journal, or you can just reflect on them silently, whichever works for you. So where in the body was more balance needed? Where in your mind was more balance needed? And what patterns or themes were noticeable in the places more balance was needed today? And you may want to pause the video while you reflect on these questions, or while you journal the answers and so on. In our next slide, we're going to be moving into a further guided practice. So this guided practice is called Seeing the Good. And we're going to be exploring the idea that balance outside the body is equally important as what we've just been experiencing about balancing inside our body. You may begin to notice that there rarely is a bad day which is entirely bad, and it's pretty rare to have a good day which is absolutely completely free of any kind of frustrations. So in this meditation, we're going to be exploring our perceptions of good and bad, and how they often skew towards the bad side of things. We're going to broaden our attention to include the good, and cultivating seeing the good more often. So assuming you can give this practice your full attention, sit upright in your chair with your hips 2 to 3 inches above the level of your knees. Have your feet flat on the floor. Rest your hands on your lap and don't interlock your fingers. Close the eyes if you want to, otherwise just have a soft downward gaze. And without changing it, become aware of your breath as it rolls in and rolls out again. And begin this practice by recalling some good actions. Focus on one good action you experienced at work yesterday. Maybe it was someone's contribution. Perhaps it was a smile. Maybe someone offered to help you. Take delight in the good action and in yourself for doing it or receiving it or sharing it or whatever. And sit with the good. And the more you sit with the good, it encourages more good to come into your life, both today and tomorrow. Give thanks to any good you received yesterday at work. Sit with appreciation and gratitude for that gift. See the person or the people who offered this good service or help or whatever, and focus on their goodness. Now focus on someone at work who you've noticed is struggling or having a difficult time, and focus on their good and see them as more than their challenges. And take a moment to reflect on a positive interaction with this person. Now take a moment to find the good in some conflict. Think of someone with whom there is conflict or tension at work. And without denying the difficulty or trying to change it, find some good in this person. And recall a good they have done or offered to you in the past. And as we bring this practice to an end. Let go of any people or scenarios that you brought to mind during this practice, and wish all beings well. Use something along the lines of, all beings want to be happy, safe, loved, and appreciated. May we all be happy, safe, loved, and appreciated. And that brings to an end this practice. Become aware of your feet on the floor and aware of the chair that you're sitting in. Wiggle your fingers and take 2 or 3 deep breaths. If your eyes are closed during this practice, open them now and become aware of the environment you're in. Now let's move on and reflect on this practice. So write down or quietly reflect on all things you are grateful for. Call to mind the people or gifts that make you thankful. Hold them in your mind, savor them, and offer gratitude for each one. And wish each person well. So this brings to an end the first part of this session. You may wish to pause the video here and continue this reflection. And I look forward to seeing you in part 2 of session 9.